welcome back to Little Maple English. I'm your teacher, Joanne. Today, we're going to learn about past simple. So what is past simple tense? Past simple is used for actions that finished in the past. The key idea is that the action is over. So for example, instead of saying I watch a movie, you can say I watched a movie yesterday. Yesterday is finished. It won't come back. So therefore, you have to use past simple. Let's take a look at the second example. It says she visited her friend last night. Do you see the word last night? It happened yesterday. Therefore, you have to use a past simple tense to show that it is finished and done action. So let's move on. Let's first take a look at regular verbs. So regular verbs end in ed in the past. Most base verbs switch into by adding ed. So for example, work can change into worked, play change into played, and clean change into cleaned. Very, very simple. You just have to add an ed. So make sure that you know all the spelling rules. So most verbs end in ed. For example, watch to watched, ending in ed. But verbs that end with e, you do not have to add an extra e. Instead, you drop one e and just add d. For example, live to lived. Live ends with e, therefore you don't have to write an extra e. You just have to add d. If a verb ends with one vowel and one consonant, you just have to add an extra consonant and write ed. So stop ends with vowel o and consonant p, therefore you add an extra p and then add ed. Make sure that you follow the spelling rules for regular verbs. How about irregular verbs? Unfortunately, you have to memorize each and every one of them. But if you do a lot of reading at home, you should be able to catch most of irregular verbs. But let me give you some examples of irregular verbs. So go change into went, eat, ate, see, saw, fly, flew, sing, sang. So don't try to just memorize the words, but instead do a lot of readings to make sure that it just gets into your head. Let's take a look at affirmative sentences. For example, I studied English. It's a finished action. Therefore, I studied and that's it. We don't know if I will study now or in the future. We just know that the studying action is finished. How about she cooked dinner? Cooking is done and the action is over. I'm just going to move on and read the next example. They went home. He bought a new phone. Let's take a look at the negative form. Use base verb after did not. This time, you do not have to change the base form of a verb. Instead, we just use did not. So it's actually much easier. So let's take a look at the sentence structure. So first, you always want to start your sentence with subject, and then did not and base verb. For example, you would write, I did not watch TV. Do you see that there's no ed at the end of watch? So make sure that you do not add ed or d with negative form. So the second example says, she did not go to work. So you see that go did not change into went, so it's she did not go. Go is a base form of a verb. So now, how about question? For a sentence structure of a question, same with negative form, you do not have to change the base form of a verb. So you write did and then subject and base verb. So for example, you would say, did you study yesterday? Did she call you? So do you see that study and call did not change into a ed form or an irregular form? Time words are a common signal for past simple sentences. For example, yesterday, last night, last week, 2 days ago, in 2022, when I was young. It gives a better idea for your listener or reader to know that it's in a past tense. So how to prevent errors? So I didn't go home. Do you see that go did not change into went? It's wrong to write I didn't went home. So make sure that you do not change the base form of a verb when you're using a negative or question form. I'm just going to read the next example. Did you watch TV? And not did you watched TV. She didn't study. She didn't studied. Make sure that it's in a base form. You got that? So let's practice. I play or played soccer yesterday. Since this is an affirmative sentence, you want to say, I played soccer yesterday. Next, she went to school last week. This is also an affirmative sentence. So you want to change your base form of a verb. So you would say, she went to school last week. They didn't eat lunch. Here, it's a negative form. Therefore, you do not want to change the base form of a verb. So the right answer will be, they didn't eat lunch. The last question, you want to start your sentence with did. So did you finish your homework? If you say, do you finish your homework? It does not make sense because then it will not be in a past tense. So I'm going to read you the summary of today's lesson. So use past simple for finished past action. So with regular verbs, add ed, d, or if it ends with one vowel and one consonant, add an extra consonant and d. So irregular verbs, there's a special form, so you have to memorize them. But use did for negative and question. So that's it for today. I can't wait to see you next class. Don't forget to subscribe.